Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod here to talk about the newly announced cast for Big Brother 26. I'll be assessing each player and ranking them from worst to best based on how well I think they'll play in the game. I'll also be doing weekly rankings to track their progress and episode recaps along the way, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the video. Also, in preparation of the new season starting, you're going to want to get your Paramount Plus so you can watch the episodes and the live feeds. I just got a new batch of I Was Rooting For You stickers. The first 25 people who use my link to try Paramount Plus for free, follow the instructions in the subject, and I'll send you a sticker for free. Let's dive into it. You'll notice that I'm counting down from 17. They released 16 house guests and a twist that the house guests will get to vote for one player to join the cast. So I guess they'll enter the game Cerise style, but there's no mention if they're a first time player, returnee, or reality TV legend. But let's get into the rankings. At number 17, I have Leah Peters, who's 26 and a VIP cocktail server from Miami. She says she's gonna bring the zings, and she relates to Zingbot. When asked what house guest she wants to model her game after, she kind of didn't answer the question at all and talked herself around in circles, including singing a trademark Disney song in her answer. If she does that on the live feeds, they'll go down for 8 hours. She says she's only on the show because her mom and her sister have seen the show, but she's seen about 5 seasons. What is about 5 seasons? How many seasons have you seen, Leah? They're 30 episodes long. You'd know if you saw one. Based on her terrible answers to the questions, I had to put her in 17th. In 16th, I have Kimo Apaka, who's 35 from Hawaii, a mattress sales rep who says, I'm bringing the aloha spirit, but also some drama. He did a lot of talking about his strategy, but basically doesn't have a strategy, and says that growing up on an island makes him adaptable because sometimes the boats are slow, and he would roll his eyes at his own answers when he knew that they were terrible, which they often were, which shows some level of self-awareness, I guess. He says he's a big fan of the show, which is good, but he just gives a really chaotic performative energy that I feel will make him a bit of a bother to the other house guests, and I don't have much faith in his leadership abilities from what I've seen, nor do I think he can perform well in competitions or under pressure. Moving on to 15th, where I have the mystery 17th house guest. I think after the season-long dominance of Suri last season, who would have won the game if she was semi-decent at comps, if this player is a returnee, they have an uphill battle, and chances are they're nowhere near as good at the game as Suri was, nor will they have a child in the house. If they're a newbie, they'll either be part of the AI twist or be speculated to be part of the AI twist. Either way, it's not looking good for them. Also, the twist always flops, so I'd bet on the twist flopping any day. In 14th, I have Tucker, last name probably not pronounced, De L'Oreal, who's 30 from Boston, a marketing and sales executive, and says he's going to bring the jokes and laughter in the Big Brother house. I found him to be a typical actor model. I find him pretty bland and into himself, but not really bringing the jokes and laughter. He seems single and open to a showmance, and he says he wants to be the first one in and win and break the whole, in his words, stigma, and at times really comes off as a huge douche. I could see Tucker and Matt forming a bros alliance, and if they were on the block, I would probably vote Tucker out first. When asked who he would model his game after, it seems like his big three were Ian, Dan, and Brett, which comes off as a really chaotically toxic combination. In 13th, I have Lisa, who's 33 and a celebrity chef. She says she's bringing the vibes. Yes. I feel like Lisa is a morphomatic of a bunch of previous house guests, including Chef Joe, Angela Rummans, Rockstar, and Blue Kim. When asked the same question as Leah about who she'd model her game after, she pretty much gave the same answer of I'm unique, but the way she articulated it was actually somewhat coherent, though was still giving no evidence of game knowledge or strategy. She wants to use chefing as her strategy, which has proven year after year to be a good way to make it to at least the jury, which she could end up making it deep into the game, and she seems to actually have a logical mind to her, so she has the potential to be part of things the way Bowie Jane was, but ultimately I don't think she has a chance to win the show. In 12th, I have Quinn Martin, a 25-year-old nurse recruiter from Lawton, Oklahoma, who says he'll be bringing the live feed camera talk, really signaling to us that he's a big fan. This interview was a lot of pandering to the audience, with him breaking players down into rats, snakes, frogs, and doves, and saying he wants to be a rat, and that his bucket list is to make an alliance and backstab his friends. When asked who he'd model his game after, he said it would be Jason Guy and sprinkle in some Jace, Paul, Brett, and Brittany, and he said that Jason had a winning game over Danielle Reyes and Lisa, which is something I fundamentally disagree with. It just seems like he's really overbaked and overthought all of these strategies, especially when everyone else on this cast is planning to just lay back and do nothing. Add on to that the other players on the cast want to target superfans, and Quinn so obviously is a superfan just by looking at him, so I just don't feel good about this for Quinn right now. In 11th, I have Mackenzie Manbeck, who's 22 from Houston and is a construction project manager. Firstly, I hate the spelling of this name. Were Taylor, McCarty, Navy, Maley, and Lakin all taken on baby naming day? She says she's bringing the tea. The tea on what? When asked who she'd model her game after, she says Casey, saying that she was kind to everyone, helped her alliance, helped the other alliance, and won comps when she needed to. This was actually such a good answer. She had some bad answers though, mainly saying that she doesn't want to lie and seems to feel above the game. Also, when asked who we should look out for, she says herself because she's basically hot, which was really conceited, and I could see people in and out of the house either hating her or punching in their stand cards depending on what she decides to do. I had her higher up on this list, but I really started getting some BB15 Aaron vibes from her in a way that gave me the heebie-jeebies, so I hope she pulls through with some iconic and not problematic behavior. In 10th, we have Cedric Hodges, who's 21 from California, a former Marine who says he's bringing loyalty to the house, which is such a lame answer. In his diary room clip, he came off as really silly and fun, which will probably make him a pleasant character, similar to Justin from BB26. He says he's not interested in playing the game and lying to people, but he'll do it for his family, which is a nice story, but I don't know if I buy that he really wants to be a puppet master in the shadows like he says. But he plans to play off being young and likable, which I feel like is a good idea from him, and if he gets far enough, maybe he can figure out what he's doing. Next, in 9th, I have Chelsea Bayham, a 27-year-old nonprofit director from California. She says she's bringing the social game. Another bad answer is nobody's won with social game as their strategy on the US show in years. She says she's a super fan who watches every season with her family. In her diary interview, she claims she wants to lay low, but she also wants the other house guests to see her as someone who people love but are intimidated by, and leave the other house guests wondering, what are we going to do with this girl? I'll tell you what they'll do with her. They'll vote her out. If she comes out the gate swinging, I fear she'll be an early boot, but I actually think there's some merit to her claims, and she could actually be a mid to end game threat if she can get that far. In 8th, I have Rubina Bernabe, a 35-year-old event bartender from Los Angeles. She says she's bringing all the personality, baby. In one of her clips, she was making fun of Julie, which I think is hilarious. All of her answers were about how she's loud and obnoxious and unlike anything we've seen before. She doesn't really seem to watch the show, and I do think she's funny, and she'll probably be well liked by fans and can make it really far and have win equity by being generally liked, but she refers to herself as mildly competitive, and I really can't see her taking things too seriously and seeing herself as a potential winner, as I got the impression that she's there to make her big break in comedy. In 7th, I have Matt Hardiman, a 25-year-old sales rep from Georgia, saying he's bringing a little bit more than meets the eye. What are you going on about, SpongeBob, me boy? He says he wants to target superfans because they're using math and equations to win the game. I truly don't know what this guy was yapping about because nobody's using math and equations to win the game. He didn't come across as very articulate in the interviews, but I do think he can win some comps and make some friends because he seems like a cool guy. When I read the transcript of the interview, he actually makes some pretty good points in that he knows that he can come off as a bit of a douche and is aware of his weaknesses and wants to lean in on bonding with the older people because that's his strength back home, which made me feel a bit better about him. In 6th, I have Cam Sullivan-Brown, a 25-year-old physical therapist from Bowie, Maryland, saying he's bringing the good vibes, and I think he is. He says he wants to work with parents because he feels like parents know how to talk to people and deal with children. I feel like that shows he watched BB25 and is expecting Suri and Felicia to be there running the house. Ask my number one pick from last season, Mimi, how working with the parents went for her. For the most part, he seems to not really know the show and thinks it's about making friends, and it's really not, but I think he seems really charming, and I can see him making it to the end. In 5th, I put Brooklyn Rivera, who's sporting the Libra Thompson long bob. Anybody want cake? She's 34 from Dallas and is a business administrator. She says she's bringing sass, class, and a little badass to the house, which does all rhyme, but is that enough to get through a 90-day season? She's a fan of the show, which is good, but when asked about her weaknesses, she basically said none, and I like that confidence, but I think it comes off a bit delulu, thinking she's better than everyone without even having met anyone. It seems like she's kind of going all in on being the Kim Spradlin of Big Brother, and I'm both here for it and terrified. Her strategy is to play matchmaker to a showmance and use them as a shield to get further in the game. The strategy is kind of flawed because she instantly becomes the backdoor replacement when the showmance buddies go on the block. She also wants to lie about being Miss America because she did win freaking Miss America in the past, which is such a cool part of her story that she's not going to talk about on the feeds. She's helped by a lot of people wanting to work with the moms, and she could relate to the older and younger players. And when I found out that she's a Miss America winner and a pageant coach, I feel like she might be able to run a girls' alliance like the Navy. In 4th, I have Kenny Kelly, a 52-year-old former undercover cop from Boston, saying he's going to bring the unexpected. I have him ranked pretty highly due to his career because I feel like more often than not, ex-undercover cops do really well on shows like this. There's something about that kind of job that's actually much harder than tech sales. He even says that Derek is a big role model for him, which is probably positive. At least he's not going to act like Tony. He says he wants to target people who take things too personally, which on one hand is really annoying to watch because you're basically nominating all the fun, emotional characters, but I can see him winning an early HOH, nominating two hotheads, and having it be a little bit of a disaster for him, though I left off with many more positives than negatives. In 3rd, I have Angela Murray, a 50-year-old realtor from Long Beach, California, originally from Utah. She looks like Carrie from Big Brother UK, which has been throwing me off, and she says she's bringing the sauce. What is the sauce? Firstly, I like how she wore a business suit to her press day because it shows she means business. Then she says she wants to play like Cody and really seemed to know her stuff articulating Cody's game in a way that made me buy what she was selling. Okay, business lady. She says she really wants to be there, even getting emotional talking about how it's a dream come true for her and alluding to having a tough life that could be interesting to hear about. There's some potential for her to be a really big town crier since she's already crying, but she says she's aware of this and wants to control her emotions. I didn't see anything I disliked too much, and I would have ranked her higher, but we've had no word that the competitions are going to be more equitable this season, and I can't really see her faring too well in a foot race or on a try peas. In second, I have Takor Claudia, a 23-year-old crochet business owner from Chicago via London. She says she's bringing the fashion. I had to watch her clips twice because she has such an interesting accent that I've never heard before, and I think she comes across so cool that I was just distracted by her coolness. She says she's underestimated and has a fire that nobody will expect and can do what needs to be done. I do question if she really knows what needs to be done, as I didn't get a pulse on her fan level, but I think there was good substance to her strategy of being the quiet girl crocheting in the corner who creates social bonds and manipulates people, backstabbing them along the way. I left off feeling overall really good about everything she has to say, and I think she's smart and physical enough to win competitions. And my number one player on this list is Joseph Rodriguez, a 30-year-old video store clerk from Tampa. He says he's bringing the laughs and he plays poker. He mentions that he watches a lot of reality TV, not just Big Brother, which is a good sign. He says he wants to model his game after Dan, appearing weak at first and turning it on in the end. I feel like he's someone everyone's going to come to for advice, and he has a lot of potential as a player. He has a really solid strategy, which is the same as a lot of people toward the top of this list, of laying low and popping off when needed. And it's nice to see so many people have an idea of the optimal strategy to win a season. But for Joseph, everything that he was giving us was spot on. This was probably the best preseason interview package I've ever seen. So that wraps up my assessment of these 16 going on 17 house guests. Let me know in the comments, what's your ranking based on how they do in the game? If you like the video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday covering the 2-part move-in premiere. Until then, have a nice week. Bye!